choose record, you probably can't. And I think it's just started. Yeah, so it's just started. So then what I usually do is say welcome to our second meeting. This is April 8th, 2019 at 5:30. This is our second session of the online teacher training course in Canvas. And we are beginning to talk about this evening. Okay, good. So by now you guys get the two different courses, and you guys get that the instructions are, in our spring 2019 April course, and that you're creating assignments in this course. And you went in and you created an introductory module. Some of you accidentally put your last assignment in the academic module, so I moved it up for you guys, just to let you know. So if you kind of see it, it's supposed to be one introductory module, right? And so somebody had a campus tour, and that was a great idea, so I just moved it up. So kind of keep the introductory stuff in the introductory stuff, and then the academic module will be whatever week you choose, and you can rename it. If you want to rename it week 1 or some sort of interesting topic, that's fine with us. Okay. So every now and then I turn off the video because it runs a little faster if I don't put my video on. So remember, we created those campus resources for you. So, whether it's Oxnard or Ventura, please use those. And then we created the online student resources, and there's one for Ventura and there's one for Oxnard. Course contact, I noticed that you guys went in and updated your course contact, how you're going to be notified. And this is really where you can put, this is really kind of your regular and effective contact policy as we talk about it this week. We'll go into more detail. Okay, good. All right, any questions so far? I will take silence as keep moving.
Yes.
But you're welcome to ask questions. Okay. Just as a reminder, I am here by myself, so I may not see the chat questions. So please use your microphone if you have a question. All right, so let's see. So we went through the introductory module last week. We are in we finished, and we also finished week 1. You guys did all that assignment, and we said think ahead to the course map. So we were trying to get you to start thinking about what is this course going to look like, and which week would be easiest for you to design as your academic module. Okay, so week 2 goals for this week. Basically, you can watch the video on your own, but Powtoons is a great tool. If you've never used that before, it's a fun little tool to use to animate stuff. But we're basically going to review what regular and effective contact means, and why has it been a hot topic over the past few years. We're going to talk about interaction and that part of the OEI course design rubric. And I think I'm just going to go through this instead of reading this off, okay? To save everybody time. Okay, so regular and effective contact. So the Ed Code states that any portion, so this part in gray is any portion of a course conducted through distance education. You just take the It says any portion of a course conducted through distance education includes regular and effective contact between instructor and students and among students. Okay, so we've got to either synchronously or asynchronously through group or individual meetings, orientation and review sessions, supplemental seminar study sessions, field trips, library workshops, telephone contact, consultation council. I don't know what consultation council digest is. 5 correspondence, voicemail, email. Okay, so that's the stuff from the state, right? What we're trying to get you to see is how do you design regular and effective contact in your course. One way faculty do this is creating discussion boards where they can communicate. Another way faculty do this is sending out announcements in the course and letting students respond. Another way faculty do this is sending tailored messages through the gradebook. And I think you guys saw me doing that when I was giving you comments in the gradebook assignment. I just wanted you to see that you could start a private dialogue with your instructor. You can also present materials using Screencast-O-Matic, and I'll show you some examples of that tonight. Library workshops, of course, you're welcome to do that. Field trips. You can create projects where they go out and do stuff on their own and bring it back. Study seminars, study sessions, you can encourage students to work together to study for the test. They can do it online. You can set up spaces for them to do that. You can set up groups. So, you know, there's lots of different ways to do that.
Michael, Mike,
yeah, please.
Would making comments on papers and assignments, would that all, you know, individual comments to students, would that also count?
Yeah, so
under this regular effective contact?
Yes.
Contact.
Yeah, very good question. So do you, so do you use Turnitin?
I use, sometimes I use Turnitin, but I also have them submit assignments on Canvas, and you can, you know, use the quiz function and do kind of workshop essay kind of things, or they submit papers. And I know on Canvas you can write comments on the paper, or you can also write comments on the side too. So there's a lot of places you can do individual or even in the rubric.
Exactly. So what I would suggest is that you, establish a method that works for you, that's clear to the students, and it's clear that this is how you're going to communicate with them, and they're going to take that to become better writers. And I would also recommend whatever you're using, that when you get evaluated, that your team knows that.
Okay.
So somehow you explain it in your writing, or somehow you show it to them. So there's some things when an evaluator goes into a course that they don't have access to. And sometimes these little comments and things like that that we do on the side, they don't see. So in order to get that validated in our, evaluation process, just show them if you can. Maybe do a quick little Screencast-O-Matic or something like that, a video. So yeah, great. Love that. Love those ideas. There's tons of ways to do it. We actually have 2 regular and effective contact policies listed here, and you would just want to review those to make sure you understand what your school's offering. But it's also ed code, right? Mm-hmm. So ed code kind of trumps what we do here at the district, and then federal accreditation agencies kind of trump everything, right? So accreditation agencies are now looking to see that we have regular and effective contact, because there have been cases, not many, where faculty did not communicate on a regular basis, on a weekly basis with their students, and so it was unclear. And those are cases where we can lose accreditation. So we just have to make that clear. But I know faculty communicate with their students. We just need to make sure that they see how we're communicating and how we're addressing that. So the policy should be in there somewhere. When you're creating your course, put that into the introductory module, so it's clear. They know how often you're going to contact them. They know when your live sessions are going to be. They know if you're not going to have live sessions, how are you going to operate that? Actually, Ventura College, there has to be a live hour per week. So if you're just monitoring your discussion board and you're going to respond to people immediately, that's one way. If you're going to host an online meeting using this tool, that's another way. And be aware that not everybody can make your live hour. We totally get that. So lots of different things going on. Pretty cool stuff. Review the details, but yeah, you guys are doing great. Any other questions about regular and effective contact? So look at your policies and look at how it's described at each campus. Okay. All right. Good. So then discussion, course design rubric section B is interaction. So interaction basically is regular and effective contact. So how are your students interacting? How are you interacting with your students? What are the different ways you create events and moments for people to work together? Yeah, please review this. If you go into the design rubric, let's see what this looks like. I'm gonna open it up. Oh, right. So when we open up our design rubric, it goes to the first page. Sorry about that. You'll have to scroll through it a little bit. So now we're in section B. So there's interaction. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, you'll notice, oh, there's a section B. I got it, you know, on pages 11 and 12. So I'm going to scroll down to 11 and 12. And basically, you're just having a conversation amongst yourselves about how do I do this? Okay. And there's some, the OEI rubric is kind of like, you know, the course, how you get courses set into the online education. So it'll talk about some things like instructor does initiate contact prior or at the beginning of the course. So just pick one that makes sense to you. Instructor information, including expected response times, is missing. Okay, so you know, is it clear? Are you clearly stating how that's going to happen? And this other part is about students talking to students. So providing opportunities for that to happen is kind of a strategic process, right? So providing opportunities for that to happen, how does it work? How are you setting that up? So you'll notice this week we have groups, so you're kind of divided up into different groups. You'll also notice that there's just different ways to set this up. So we'll talk about it, but this week you're really just setting up what I like to call check-in points. So you're starting your academic information, you're providing the information to the students, you're giving them the goals for the week, and then you're setting up check-in points. How are you measuring that they were there, right? So in an on-campus course, you know they're there because they walk in the classroom and you ask them a question and you can kind of see the blank stares on their face, and do they understand that major concept that you thought they were supposed to understand and have read? Okay, so in an online class, you want to have check-in points and kind of you know, show them that these are some of the important concepts they're going to need to know later. Yes, they don't have to be complex assignments, and I'll show you some examples in a few minutes. All right, great. Okay, so that's what that's your discussion for the week. Zoom in the room. Okay, so you guys get to create your Zoom account this week. So every California Community College instructor is allowed to have a Zoom account and is allowed to host a meeting just like I'm hosting right now and to record. So there's a very good tutorial here. This video will explain how to get Zoom in the room, and it explains how you do this. The instructions are all here, so just kind of follow the process, and then you take a screenshot that you have an account and you just submit that. So if you're not sure how to take a screenshot, it's explained down here too. Need help to take a screenshot? It's explained here how you can do that. And you can even talk to us if you're not sure how to do a screenshot. So feel free to contact us during the week, and that means anyone. That means it doesn't have to be just me. It could be Sharon or Allie. We're more than happy to go over that. Okay. All right. So that's a small activity, but we think it's important for you guys to have your own Zoom account. Edit and customize your regular and effective contact policy. Okay. So on your contact page, you've already sort of started to do this. Okay. You just want to go back and make sure that it's all clear how that's working. At Ventura College, we have the live synchronous hour. So I guess I really didn't explain synchronous and asynchronous, but I may have a little bit last week. But synchronous just means live, happening right now, like we're talking right now. Asynchronous is kind of like the discussion boards that we've had this week where, yeah, you're supposed to have it done by now, but there's a little bit of flexibility of when people turn it in, but they're still responding directly to each other and building up that conversation. Okay. So there's some clear explanations here about how to set that up. And then we talked about publishing your modules and making sure those are published. Okay. Effective academic module, what is that? So there's a clear description here of what an effective academic module is. So it should have a clear title for the unit. It should have a brief description, a stated beginning and end date, the learning objectives, 2 types of relevant content, and this is basically what you're building, and I'm going to go over that here in a few minutes. 2 learning activities that promote interaction, and a clear process for evaluating the learning activities. So rubrics aligned with stated objectives, okay? Well, I'll go into that in a few minutes here. So just be aware that it's here. We would like an outline of this. So what is that going to look like? So we're trying to get you to design before you start, because it's easy to have great ideas and then forget to implement them. You guys, how should I phrase this? I've been teaching for a long time also, okay? And you know there are days when you go in the classroom and you go, I forgot to write that down, but you still tell your student. You still talk to them about it. You still let them know. And they're responsible for it because they should take notes. So just remember, in an online class, if you forget to state it, you can't really grade them on that. That's not okay. Okay, so think about that. So if you've stated in the classroom, it's fair game, right? You've stated in your lecture, they know they're supposed to write it down, they're supposed to go study that further. That's fair game. If you don't put it into your course and introduce it at any point in time, it's not necessarily fair game. Now there's debate on this, but that's the basic deal. So make sure that it's put in there, make sure it's clear what you're giving them. So outline what you want to give them, because if you forget to put that video in that they're supposed to watch and it's an hour, and then you start talking to them about it, you can see how they could be upset. Okay, so think about that, outline it, put it in. What's that going to look like? Same thing, here's what the content, and then the next thing is you actually create it later. This is about modules. I wouldn't worry about this page. Unless you really need to understand modules, I wouldn't worry about that. It was a big topic a while ago when we first started. And then you create your academic module, okay? So I'm going to show you mine and what I've created and kind of what it looks like, okay? So this is my demo page, okay? We're done with the introductory module. Well, actually not totally done. So one of your assignments is to go into course contact and update that and make that a little bit better. But then you have your academic module, okay? So the great thing is our welcome page for a module. We've built this out for you, okay? So the nice thing about this is you can just simply go into your sample module over page. If it's an online course, use the online one. If it's a hybrid, use a hybrid. And you basically edit it, okay, right? And you can just use our graphics for now. It gives them a nice summary. What are the objectives of this week? What are the key assignments that they're going to be doing? What are the readings? What are the videos? What are the activities they're going to do? You're kind of just laying it out there so it's real clear. Here's what my expectations are. If you need any special resources, you can add additional resources here. So if you're familiar with online teaching and you have a different way of presenting this information, please import that, put that in there, use what you use. We're not asking you to say, specifically use this, but if you're not sure, then just kind of go through, fill this out so it's a clear kind of summary of what's going on, okay? And that'll give them a nice introductory module. Some of you, in some disciplines, use a module to span more than 1 week, okay? That's fine with us, okay? Just define it the way you plan to define it and use it in your course. Some of you who are new to teaching online, it's best to just use the weekly module. Just do the weekly module. And then later on, after you look at your course after a semester, you might go, oh, I'm just going to combine these 2 modules later on, combine. But if you're new to this, weekly is easier. if you have a set, you know, if you have a mindset of this is how I've been teaching it online, and you're in the what we call the competency-based approach, and you're really bringing in materials from somewhere else, and you have this module that spans 3 weeks, then just show us that. Show us that. You don't have to break it apart to fit our scheme. We're just trying to give a scheme that makes sense to a lot of people who are new, and you know, introduces kind of where we're going. Okay, so you edit that, right? So these other things are things that I've created. Okay, so you don't have these pieces of content. Okay, but when we're talking about question. Okay, so when we're talking about content, there's many ways you can produce content. Okay, so for example, you could have a page of information, right? However you want to present this information. Maybe you have some sort of Word document that you've created, right? And you can just edit and paste it in here into a page. Okay, is everyone familiar on how to create a page? Maybe I didn't show that before. So if you want to create a page, okay, you just go to your academic module and you click on the plus sign over here at the right. And instead of choosing assignment, you just choose page. Create a new page. And this is all defined in the, there's all sorts of help sections in the course, okay, that explain that. But you just create a new page, content A, okay. So you basically, that's the shell for your page. I'm just going to drag it up here with the other content sections. You can publish it. You can open it up. You can choose edit. And you have your little WYSIWYG editor, right? You can do all sorts of things. Type in what you need to type in, paste in what you need to paste in. Okay. So that's how I started these pages. Just created a blank page and added content. If you'll notice, so you could have a timeline, pictures, whatever you have at your resource to import, you could import, put in. This is basically text, right? Straightforward. That's usually not the hard part for people to create. There's some examples here of how to move pictures around and just kind of set up a page. Okay, so I don't think that's going to be the hard part. I don't think making pages will be the hard part. Let's say you have a PowerPoint. Okay, so let's say you have a PowerPoint. You might want to demo something. Okay, now we didn't really go into a lot of great detail on how to use Screencast-O-Matic, but we could. It's a very straightforward tool, and you can end up creating videos like this. Welcome back. A lot of faculty have been asking me about PDFs and how can I break them apart into separate documents. So imagine you had a PDF such as this one that's 44 pages long, and you just wanted to break it up into smaller sections. You don't want to mess with the document, you don't want to mess with the publisher. You just want to have sections of it for your students to read. Okay, it's a really straightforward process. This would help you pinpoint what you want your learners to know. So you can create demos. Okay, so if you want, you can create demos. So right now, I'm using this particular tool. I'm using a Screencast-O-Matic, but you guys could just start out by using the tool for this week, which is Zoom. And so like I'm recording right now, you could record. You could record and show a PowerPoint presentation, right? So I'm recording right now, and if I were to run a PowerPoint presentation, hopefully I have one here. So notice that the screen is recording everything right now. Close that. Okay. So you'll notice right now that if I'm just taking PowerPoint and presenting, what you guys see right now is the PowerPoint presentation, and I'm speaking over it, and I'm recording. So if you just work with Zoom for right now, don't worry about Screencast-O-Matic, that was just an example. If you just work with Zoom right now and play a PowerPoint, you can actually record a video and use that as an example. So talking about accessibility, is it fact or fiction, right? Okay. Oh yeah. What we were doing was talking about different topics, and then we'd have people, chime in about it. So all I'm trying to get you to see is that I am presenting to you and recording. So when you see this tomorrow morning, you'll see that at minute, well, whatever minute this is, 23 minutes into the presentation, you can have a PowerPoint presentation. So let's just say you wanted to talk over, so at home, you can just create your own little meeting, set up with Zoom, record for 5 or 10 minutes, and you've got a video you can plop right into the course, right? So just think about that as an option to present.
Where would you save quick question, if you did that on Zoom, does it give you an option to save that? And then can you put that in there through the video function of Canvas?
Exactly. So right now, I am recording.
Right.
When I'm done with the presentation, I just say stop recording. Then it takes a while to build the video, and then it'll save it right into your course. It'll save it right into your course. So I'll show you how that works, but when you get your account, it's very straightforward. You can also try Screencast-O-Matic. So that tool that I was using and I published to YouTube, you could try Screencast-O-Matic. These tools are not terribly hard to use, but I may not be able to demo them all tonight, but I can demo them Friday. So if you want to come into the session on Friday, I can demo those. I can also demo them to you if you have time this week.
Okay, great.
I'll try to demo them before the end of the evening.
Yeah.
but I may not be able to do that.
All right.
We'll see how that all works. Okay, yeah. So just be aware that this is another way to record it. Now you kind of want to stage it out ahead of time, and you probably wouldn't want interruption. So you just start Zoom, start your PowerPoint, start speaking over it, try to have your notes set up the way you want, and then when you're done, it just saves, and you can upload. It's a file, and you just upload it to upload it. Yeah. Cool. Good question. Any other questions? So remember, it's recording my screen, right? So as we're speaking, so I showed you this example. This is actually published to YouTube. Okay. And then there's the Zoom example. So there's different ways to present information. So when you're thinking about presenting information this week, you probably already have PowerPoints that you've created. You can probably speak to those pretty easily because you've already presented with those. So all you have to do is get Zoom started, get it running, and then just try it out. And don't worry if it's not perfect this week. We get that. But at least try it, and you can try posting it. Okay. Let's see, what's the next example I have? Oh, the next example I have is with Powtoons. It didn't come in the way I wanted it to. Let's see what happens when I go out to the web. Okay, there it is. So Powtoons is a little bit more complicated. If you are looking for an animation tool and want to play around with an animation tool, you could put Powtoons on your radar. But I think for most of you beginning, probably using Zoom would be better, or Screencast-O-Matic. If you're comfortable with bringing in animations and playing around with stuff, you'll notice that these are all animations that kind of come in at different times. So it's a little bit more complicated of a tool, but for those of you who want a challenge, feel free to play around with it a little bit. And then you can do a voiceover on it too if you want to. So this just explains teaching presence in online education. Okay, so if I were to look at this particular module, right? You only need two content presentations. I gave you kind of 5 right here, 5 different ideas, right? You could just get away with creating two pages of information if you wanted to. But probably in an entire course, that's going to get a little dry and a little boring. So you might want to think, oh, bring in a video, or bring in it could be an outside video, right? Or it could be bringing in a video that you create of a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, I keep them kind of simple because most people use PowerPoint in their classes today, and try to keep it straightforward. And hopefully that helps you out. Okay, and then you have to have 2 feedback examples. Okay, so feedbacks, right, are check-in points. So one example that I'm giving you here is an article description. Okay, let's say you asked them to read 3 different articles. Let's say you gave them 3 different articles to read, and that's the content you want to present. And you put on one of your pages, I want you to read these 3 articles. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, or your content is 3 different articles that you want them to read. Well, you could have them review one of them as a feedback mechanism. So to prove that they're there that week, they should be able to give you a description of the article. Now, all this says is review the following Twitter account. So on my website, I post tons and tons of articles. So I could say to my students, just go in and look at my website for the week, find an article that appeals to you that will help you in your teaching career, because I do a lot about teaching stuff, provide the title, write a brief synopsis of the article and explain it, how it will be helpful in your teaching career, limit your response to 250 words. So this is an assignment. So to add this to the course, let me just go over that little process real quick. So I would have had to have started out by going add to the academic module, a new assignment, okay, and call this article example. Okay, so I would have had to create that, right? So I would have typed in, okay, add the article example. Now I'm going to click on the one that's completed just to make this easier. And you'll notice that once I've done that, I would have had to edit it. Okay, so this is the title. These are the the explanations, and then below I would have made it a point value. Okay, so remember this is all recorded. So if you're not writing all this down, you can go back, and I recorded this week, so you can go back and review this. But you would give it a point value. Some people will debate on whether they want to give it a point value or not. I highly recommend you give it a point value, a check-in point. This is how you're doing regular and effective contact. Did they choose one of the articles? Okay. Don't worry about the assignment group just yet, because we're going to go over how you set up the grade book and set up groups. But if you want to, you can create a new group, and you can say these are my daily assignments or something like that. Create your own group. It'll put it into the grade book, so it's fine. Display grades as points. Highly recommend you display grades as points at first until you get comfortable with the grading system. But if you have a clear grading system, we will show you how you can set that up a little bit later. Okay, I think that's week 3 or week 4. And then I just choose text entry. So you could have them do a file upload, but I just choose text entry, choose it to be online, because text entry just gives them a little box to type in. I'm really just looking for, did you pick an article? Are you able to summarize it? Does it make sense? Are you able to relate it to how you want to teach in your career? And are you doing what we're asking you to do? Okay. So it's a great way to have people check in. I don't need plagiarism review, but if you do, you would just check that. That's the turn it in. Show report, that's if you choose plagiarism review. And then give it a due date. Assign it to everyone and give it a due date. This is due on the 15th of April by the end of the day. Click save, and you have a little assignment. Okay, so it says 30 points. It's a text box entry. That's one way. If you wanted them to submit a paper, choose, instead of text box entry, you choose submit a file. There's lots of different things. Okay, so that's a way to get feedback. Right, so I'm going to go back to modules, kind of give you the bird's eye view. The academic module now has, content. You don't need 5 different types of content. You only need 2 for this assignment. You can link to articles if you want to. You can link to a YouTube video if you want. Oh yeah. And then feedback, article description. I also put in another discussion. So a discussion could be a feedback mechanism. Okay. So I titled this one Emotional Intelligence, and I put in a video here of George Costanza. Have you guys know what I'm talking about when I talk about emotional intelligence? There's a guy by the name of I can't remember the expert now, but he's done a lot of research in how being able to be in control of our emotions helps us learn better, and that when our emotions affect us, we have a tendency to shut down and not learn as well. Well, if you're familiar with George Costanza, he is kind of the character who can demonstrate the least emotional intelligence of a lot of human beings, but it's done for comedic effect. So I just said, well, let's just watch this video, and then afterwards, what are some questions we could ask George, based upon what we've studied in emotional intelligence, what are some questions we could ask George to help him use emotional intelligence better? So it's really kind of, out there. It's really pushed to the limit, etc. But I'm asking students to apply and then share in a discussion and kind of talk to each other about it. So it's not necessarily a lot that they have to do, but they have to think about what type of questions, what question could I ask George to help him hopefully use emotional intelligence better. So these are just ideas, right? So obviously you would want them to have read an article on this prior to doing the assignment, but these are types of things that you could do. Those are 2 different assignments. They're check-in points. I can give somebody 20 points. They can also share each other. They can look at each other's questions. Oh, that's something I never thought of. Oh, this is one that I might use in the future. So just ideas to think about how to set up information. Okay, so that's basically what you're doing this week. Creating content. How are you judging that the students are checking in to know that content? One thing I did not explain too well, I'm going to go back to my Content A example, is this little tool that you can use. If I edit a content page, there's this little YouTube example. So let's say you know of this YouTube video that you wanted them to watch. You could give them a YouTube video as content and then give them an example later on, right? So you could put the YouTube video into the discussion, or you could just say, I'm going to have this as a content. I want you to watch this, and then I'll ask you a question later. However you set up that process or flow is fine with us. But I wanted you to see how you can add a YouTube video very easily. So let's just say I want to search YouTube and add a video. And let's say it's a TED Talk about, I don't know, anxiety. Let's see if that exists. So, be the warrior, not the warrior. Okay, so let's just say it's a TED Talk. We all know TED Talks are not going to hurt anybody. So I'm going to insert that. Obviously, you probably want to do a little bit more research than what I just did right now. And so I have now be the warrior, not the worrier. Okay, so that's going to be how students will remember it. I know I want them to watch this video. I'm going to click save. So now I've got a nice little video embedded into my module that they're going to watch. Okay, I know they're going to watch this. I'm going to encourage them to watch it. If they don't watch it, they're going to have trouble with the next assignment, right? So a lot of people will ask me, well, how do I know that they've watched the video? Is there any way I can see if they've clicked on it? Okay, let's just imagine that for a second. So even if you could measure that they clicked on the video, you have no way of knowing they've watched it unless you ask them a question. Okay, so keep that in mind, that there are some stats in Canvas that don't prove that the students have internalized what you want them to watch. So hold them accountable, ask them something about this that's very, very that relates to them. You know, that proves that they've seen the video. Maybe they need to cite something from the video that answers a question, but make them engage, make them interact with either each other or the content. And then you're measuring regular and effective contact. So you are actually measuring regular and effective contact by actually asking them to do stuff. Okay, so now I have a module with tons of content, right? Just two feedback examples. And I think that's what this assignment asks you to do. So when you create your assignment this week, we are asking you to have a clear name, pretty straightforward. An introductory page, you could just fill out our page, right? You could just take our template, fill it out, replace it with what you want to put it in there. Learning materials. Now the learning materials could be pages in a book. They could be articles that you want to refer them to. They could be the content pages like I showed you. It could be a YouTube video. You just have to have them in there somewhere. We're going to look for them. Some people put them in different ways. And then 2 activities to support learning, right? So I like to view them as check-in activities, right? Okay, if you ask them to read 3 articles, choose one that was meaningful to you, you know, and explain it. That's what you would do in a classroom, right? Discussion, right? Remember I gave you an example of a discussion. Okay, so we talked a lot about end products. I showed you how you could insert stuff, how you could edit pages. Remember, basically, you're going to go to your academic module and add items, right? So you just go to your academic module, add items. What kind of item do I want to add? You could add an assignment. You can add a file. So that would be a file that you upload, maybe like an article or something like that. You could add a page. You can add a discussion. So we gave you the discussion last week. If you had to create a discussion, you just simply add a discussion, you know, give it a new name. You know, what's the discussion unknown. Okay, I'm just going to do that for right now. Right, you add the item. Okay, once you create the discussion, you go in and choose edit. Right, here's where you would type in the description. The discussion I chose was a graded discussion, so I'll give them, you know, I want them to participate, so I'm going to give them 15 points. Allow liking, sometimes kind of fun, but you just remember that you're going to still grade it. Doesn't just because people like it doesn't mean it's going to be the best grade. Assign to everyone, give it a due date. You know, just get in the habit of giving things due dates, so it's easy for your students to understand when things are done. By just giving it a due date, it sends a message to them. It puts it into their to-do list. It shows things that are upcoming in the course. Remember that if I'll go in and take the student view real quick. When a student comes in here, remember they're going to see on the right side things that are upcoming. Oh, this is April 4th, April 10th. So just by putting in those actual dates, they know that there's something upcoming. Okay, I'm going to leave the student view. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do for week 2, is update our regular effective contact policy, get an account with Zoom, create some content. How do you create content? What content do you want to create? If you want to try Zoom and do a PowerPoint over that, feel free to do it. If you bomb miserably, be thankful you're not teaching the class right now, right? So we totally understand if it doesn't work out the way you want to. You can meet with us to go over how to do that. We can demo this stuff online. We're going to go over these types of things in our on Friday in our 10 to 2 session, and you can just keep it as written as you want it to be. Also, if you have articles, you just want to give them articles and have them expect them to read the articles and give you feedback. You want to just figure out how to create these feedback mechanisms in Canvas, then just do that. That's fine. These are going to differ. Yep. Question.
Yep. Just thought I'd ask a quick thing. You know, I'm working on an actual class that I haven't been assigned yet for the fall, but if I am, I'm sort of, you know, as you know, sticking to to my own model. Now, I don't know any dates yet. You want me just to make updates to show you that I know how to enter dates, or is that taken for granted that I could add dates at a later time?
Yeah, we'd like you to go ahead and put in dates to show us you can do that. You can just have it due next week. That's fine with us.
Right.
Yeah, just
Okay.
do that for now. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Matt, this is Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Just a quick question. This screen I'm looking at right now that through the conference Zoom, that's your demo screen. It's not the same screen that, because I see a bunch of pieces of information in there that I don't see on my class.
Correct.
Okay.
They are not. They are not. We debated on what to put into the academic module because we didn't want to say this was the way it had to be done. However, if there's anything in here you guys want copies of after watching this video or go back and watch the video, just send me an email and I can put it into your course and you can play around with it. I can give you, I'll just call it sample content and just play around with it and change the text. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just want to double check that because I'm like, I don't see that on mine.
Yeah, we're not sure. We're not sure what we should put in there and not put in there. So yeah, but yeah, if you want any of it, let us know. Okay. Any other questions? So there's 10 minutes left. I am still going to be here to answer questions. I really do like Screencast-O-Matic. So if you really want to figure out how to demo a PowerPoint, you might want to try Screencast-O-Matic also. Every faculty member I've given that to really likes it. And then you can just export it as a nice little video. But Zoom will also do that. So if you want to use Zoom, feel free to use Zoom because it's kind of an all-encompassing tool. But yeah, this week's about how do I present stuff. If you're intimidated a little bit about creating a video and putting it up there, that's okay. We're fine with you putting articles up there. You could also set a link to another YouTube video that you know is a resource that goes with your textbook really well and just ask a question about that. I'm fine with that. So as you're measuring how do I teach online, you have to remember all the classroom time that you would normally spend in a class has to be accounted for in how you present the material. And then all the homework that you would normally give, you have to account for that too. So, you know, it could be reading the textbook, it could be reading chapter 1 and just, you know, that could be your assignment, reading chapter 1 and, you know, having feedback mechanisms from that chapter. That's fine with us too. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to do it. So we were hesitant about what to put in the course because, but we're definitely happy to give you any of these examples. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let the video keep going and answer questions. I don't have anything else to present this week. Let's see. You will be, let's just make sure. So we've gone through that. Yeah, so things to review. Right, so you want to make sure you're viewing the pages, replying to discussions. You know, do you have your URL to your regular and effective contact policy? The easiest way to do your regular and effective contact policy is just to go in to the contact section of your introductory module and just make sure it meets all the requirements. And if you need to explain a few more things to your students, explain a few more things to them about how the course works. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so that's where we are. Think about it. If you need to go back and redo an assignment in your introductory module, that's fine with us too. I think what I'm going to do is stop the recording, but I'm not going to leave. So I'm going to stop the recording so you guys can watch this later if you want to.